Well, hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Olivia's Corner. This week, I have prepared 5 more movie pitches for you. You guys seemed to like my pitching ideas. So I'm going to tell you about 5 more ideas that I have found for movies. So I hope you like them. Let me know if they're working or not working. If you weren't around for the last one, what I'm going to do is tell you the pitching idea that I have, as in, this is an idea I have for a movie. Here's the pitch. What do you think? I'm going to tell you what I think works and doesn't work about said movie, movie concept. And then you can tell me in the comments what you think about each of the ideas, or if there's one that stands out, or one that you hate and don't think will ever be a good movie. That's fine. And as a special treat, at the end, I'm going to do a wrap-up and tell you what I learned about myself while working on these ideas, because there was a message that I got that was interesting. For the first movie, my idea is when an earthly hero calls upon Odin, the gods of old, and asks him to send heroes from Valhalla to help him slay some sort of injustice. Odin sends some different people than this hero was expecting, and 5 people who have arisen from their battles come to the hero's aid. They're just not the 5 types that the hero was expecting. Okay, that was a little messy, but you kind of get the idea. So my idea was around, Norse mythology. If you've seen Thor, you've heard a little bit about this. Any of the Thor movies. Odin is Thor's father, and also keeps the halls of Valhalla, which is like life after death if you were killed gloriously in battle. So there's this concept I read on the internet that was adorable, where no matter what your battle, Odin hands you a tankard and demands to know the stories of your battle, because you wouldn't be here if you hadn't survived a battle. So people who lost a long battle with cancer and died, potentially. One of them is a 7-year-old kid. This is a tragic one, who protected their siblings from an abusive alcoholic stepfather or something, and died in that battle. That's still a battle, and that person still won, or, lost, but in the heat of battle. So those kinds of heroes. I still think it'd be interesting to send one person with a sword who maybe doesn't feel worthy or something like that. That might be adorable, but I like the tension of the person who called to Odin for aid being like, what the heck is this? Like, who are these people? I ask you for warriors and, battle-hardened people who can help me resolve this injustice. Who are these people? And, he learns that these are exactly who he needed. He just didn't realize it. Or she. Or they. And so the risks of this is that I really don't want to misrepresent anyone's struggle. So this would be a heavy consultation preparation, I guess you could say. It would be, I would spend a lot of time leading up to and before writing this working with people who have, if I really wanted to go the route of, some of it's kind of dark. It's not a bright movie. That's idea number 1. Idea number 2, a whole movie of NPCs. In a setting not unlike The Office, characters from the sidelines tell the stories of their encounters with, or the aftermath of their encounters with heroes. That's the pitch. For my listeners' sake, I guess, it would basically be the equivalent of, have you ever read those jokes about, or no, I think it was referenced in one of the I think it was referenced in one of the Spider-Man movies, you can't use the Iron Man destroyed my car excuse, or how does that fit into insurance and stuff like that. This is kind of that idea. I love the idea of telling the story of the people who are left behind in the wake of the destruction of the heroes. So it's the concept of NPCs or non-player characters. That's what that means. This idea of just the farmer whose house got destroyed, talking about how they handled the situation or what they saw in the hero that was not told in that was not told in the gallant stories of success. In a similar fashion as like The Office, I think it would be funny for like, yeah, and then this guy just came swooping in and my farm got lit on fire, and then like in the background there's like a barn on fire. I don't know. I'm someone who's wary of comedy, but that could be an interesting story. It would be kind of an action comedy setting, kind of like The Office meets like, oh gosh, there was a short film made that was like what Thor is doing in his downtime when he wasn't summoned to help with the Civil War movie. Super funny. It's a lot like he moves in with a mortal somewhere, and like it's funny. Okay, movie idea number 3. A movie about immortals, but like funny and more current. So this idea is inspired by the movie that came out during quarantine called The Old Guard, which I learned is based off of a comic. But that movie follows some immortals and how they keep their heads down and what kind of battles and struggles they get into in the modern world. And it was really interesting. I loved it. There are also a lot of like funny posts on the internet about immortals and about like how to not out them, or like letting them stay and out themselves if they want to. New immortals, old immortals. Talking about how they hide or don't hide. There was a comical one about like a vampire immortal who was like teaching a history class and like opened the history book and was super disappointed because they lived the events of the history book and they were not accurate in the book, and just closing the book and telling them what really happened, telling the whole class what really happened. So I think it would be comical, kind of like I heard I don't know very much about it, the like vampire movie where all the vampires are like dark but it's hilarious. A similar idea where it's just some immortals who take it very seriously and are trying to hide, and some immortals who are just like blatant and just make a big mess and then go hide for 100 years and come back out and make a big mess. And it doesn't have to be a murder mess, could just be like, I don't know, they correct a bunch of things, learn what happened in the world, hate what's happening in the world, hate the fashion or love the fashion, buy a cookbook and go back into hiding. I don't know. Yeah, I didn't really have a log line for that one. I don't really have a pitch. It's still very much a work in progress. So if I were to run with that idea, I would need to come up with some more ideas around it. Maybe a plot might be helpful. Idea number 4. A bumbling idiot claims that he's going to teach you how to get the person you love to fall in love with you. That's it. That's the idea. I had this idea that I thought would be interesting where the main character tries to teach you to do something, but they've never done it before. So somewhat like a documentary, there's a lot of like the person recording themselves going through the motions of whatever it is that they're teaching you, and then the person outside of it makes commentary. A film that's coming to mind is like The Emperor's New Groove, when Emperor Kuzco pauses his telling of the story and like pulls the like whiteboard screen, what am I thinking, projector screen down, and like draws a circle around like, the story's about me, don't forget, crosses out Pacha and is like, not about him, don't forget. So the person has already lived the story and is making commentary about it in the end. The other film I was thinking of, gosh, maybe this needs to be animated, is like Tangled, that starts with Eugene Fitzherbert telling you the story. This is the story of how I died. No, don't worry, it's a very good story. That kind of idea. He's a little less bumbling, but he's still kind of an idiot in the beginning. But it could be teaching you anything. It doesn't have to be, this is how to make the person you love fall in love with you, because I'm a little bit against romance movies. So, okay, I'm gonna tell you about 2 more ideas. One of them is like 4.5 because it doesn't count as my own idea or a full idea. It's just something interesting that I love. And it's the idea of a horror movie turned comedy because the main character or characters are just completely unfazed and really, like, I don't want to say suicidal, but like there's a joke on the internet about like Gen Z not really caring about whether or not they live through things, and they're just kind of like, yeah, sure, can you get it over with then, please? So a Gen Z murder mystery or like horror movie I think would be hilarious. And number 5 actual! Idea number 5, here we go. An adventure goes sour when our two main lovebirds break up in the beginning of the story. The story does not follow two people trying to win each other back, it follows two people trying to reconcile the truth of the breakup, and in the end are very respectful of each other's wishes to not be together. Because it doesn't have to be a movie about getting back together. It can also be a movie about respect. Okay, that's my 5 ideas. What do you think? 5.5? 6 ideas? What am I missing? What would make them better? And now for the debrief. What I learned in this process. One of the things that I started working on in this process, I suppose, I thought I hated comedy, but a lot of these ideas are pretty funny. I thought I hated comedy, and then I remembered how much I laugh. So I think what I discovered about myself is that I don't hate comedy. I hate what comedy represents right now. I think it's turning into something better, but like, I like comedy like John Mulaney. I don't like comedy like sitcom slap humor. I don't like it. And I think the reason I don't like it is that they are making fun of people. They are... The funny things are always... Like, half of the comedy in sitcoms has to do with miscommunications, with making fun of one person's flaw in some way, with not being willing to tell people what you're thinking or feeling. A lot of older ones are like racist or sexist or homophobic. I'm not interested in that kind of humor. That's not but like, it makes me angry when that kind of thing is made funny, and when people say, oh, but it was kind of funny, and I say, no, it's really not. Or I think that. Gosh. I don't like when comedy centers around how people's mistakes harm other people. And I don't like when miscommunication leads to harm. Anyway, it's not that I don't like comedy. I'm learning this about myself. Anyway, thank you for stopping by my channel. Thanks for watching this commentary and idea spinning with Olivia. You made it through. Good job. If you're here because you love me, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you get notified when I notify you of new content and information. Otherwise, thank you for showing up. I'm glad you're here, and I will see you next time. That still isn't quite the pitch. What am I going for? Okay, what am I going for?